After entertaining people for over 70 years, the amusement park Het Sprookjesbos has closed down. With the closure, all of the old rides were left behind, giving the feeling of a sudden time stop. In this episode, we'll venture inside the extensive history of this closed down park. We started at the edge of the complex. Through the bushes we made our way down into the park. The terrain is rather large, containing over 11 rides, spread out in different sections. Finally, we made it to our first point of interest, the Red Pirate Ship. This impressive rocking ship was called Captain Hook back when it was operating. Today the ride stands in a rather sad and desolate state. With the captain a bit further, still overlooking the ship. Inside the operator's booth, something quite remarkable could be found. A still working screen controlling the ride could be seen. This bizarre phenomenon is due to its age of abandonment. Usually the places we explore have been abandoned for years already. This place is rather different though. Instead of years, this place was abandoned a couple of months ago due to bankruptcy. But more on this later. Beside the pirate area, the park contains a lot of different areas, as seen on this information board. Another pirate-themed ride was located not much further on the hillside. On this ride, the size of the park could really be witnessed. The park is built on a small hill, overlooking the town nearby. The story of the park starts in 1950, when a businessman established a park here on the hillside. The man originally built it solely for his daughter, but it was later turned into a public park. The park was fully centered around fairy tales, which were quite popular in Western Europe at the time. With the sets being made at a nearby art school, it was a true local landmark of the area. Later, so-called animatronics were installed. Animatronics made it possible to make the fairy tale characters move around. Throughout the years, due to increased popularity, the park expanded, adding more and more rides, fairy tales and experiences. Right now we're in the oldest part of the park. This part contains small, colorful houses, displaying scenes from fairy tales. Inside the little houses, animatronics were placed, making the place feel more alive in the past. Besides the houses, a large chair-o-plane could also be found. The chair-o-plane was in mid-restoration when the park was suddenly closed down. This explains why the seats are on the ground and some panels are missing. It shows that it was really quite sudden when the park closed down. Next to it, the White Castle of Rapunzel was located. All of the buildings were closed up, so we couldn't take a peek inside. Following the trail decorated by mushrooms, we came across something quite interesting.
Ja, dit is ingestort. Maar er zit een pop in.
Housed an animatronic giant. The decay of the small building really shows in what state the park was during its last years. With the park expanding over the years with newer rides, the park became quite large, even containing a water ride. The trouble started in the 2010s, when parks such as these became less popular. The first bankruptcy was in 2012. Fortunately, it was bought up by another owner. He had a new vision in mind, going more back to the original fairy tales concept. The park was shortly reopened after this, with a more stable visitor count. Right now, we are in the middle section of the park, heading over to the highest point of the park. This area was the restaurant themed area, which was supposed to be quite impressive. A small western style village and some rides could be found here, including a mechanical horse trail. Being close to an employee's entrance, we couldn't take a closer look at the village. Besides this, a boarded up ride was located, containing signs of the government. This ride holds a sad story. In the spring of 2022, 3 young kids were enjoying a ride, when all of a sudden a cart fell down 6 meters to the ground. The ride had failed, injuring the children. The park installed an investigation into how this could happen. The park suffered brand-wise and saw decreased visitor amounts the next upcoming months. This combined with some recent investments just being finished, the financial state of the park was quite bad. People spoke that the park was already in decay even when the park was still active. In the winter of 2023, just before the Christmas fair, the park closed down all of a sudden, being engulfed in bankruptcy. A fire broke out shortly after the recording of this video. The fire was caused by vandals who broke into the park to cause trouble. The park has now been sold to the new owner, who is currently investigating a reopening to the park. So hopefully the park, dating all the way back to 1950, will reopen its doors once again, continuing the story of this old amusement park.